Ladies and gentlemen, we are on part 3 of the new season's reveal. Warriors Den here. So this is the final video. In this video, we're going to go over the patch notes that's going to go in the game, as well as testing grounds. Let's get it started. So we know there's a lot of talking. We're going to skip over that and just get to the main thing here. Quality of life improvements.
We are now using multiple exposures, meaning the dark parts of the frame are not going to be exposed the same way that the bright parts.
So if you guys can't see the difference between these, it's the backgrounds. It ain't this part, it's the backgrounds, quality of life. You see how you can see this one? This is after the update. I think this is in the game today, but you basically get to see the background way better.
Frame. So we get back those details without losing the average, the overall quality.
Update. And back, and then the next update is a lot more colored. You can see the background a lot clearly now.
Look of the
and we can kind of see
you can see on the video,
right. So basically, like from what I understand, because also a bit of a neophyte on this thing, because I'm not a graphics programmer clearly, but it's kind of like the brightness, right? So you kind of adjust the brightness depending, because normally you apply it to everything, and it kind of.
So you see here, you see in this photo, it's looking a little blurry, but you can see it a bit clearer in this one, right here. Like, you just look side to side, there's a lot less brightness in this one,
If there's like light and dark, it kind of all gets down to the middle, whereas this, it makes the bright areas brighter and the dark areas like a little bit bright.
The clouds as well. I don't know if y'all saw
darker, I guess, so you see a lot more of the detail. Like, I think this is one of my favorite ones, because you look at...
y'all get it, because, the testing ground, that's going to be pretty big. That's why I'm skipping over this. Dodge bash changes. So I think this is going to come in the game next when the season launch. All 433 millisecond front dodge bashes now lose tracking 100 milliseconds during the attack against dodging opponents. So, and this is just all front dodge bashes in general. I don't really know how big that's going to change. I don't bash too much. Conqueror, Jormungandr, and John Hu will now have their front dodge recoveries lowered by 100 milliseconds, which is good. So they recover faster. And then we have here dodge bash changes. Magi, throne room tackle can now be performed starting at 300 milliseconds during the front dodge. So I think this is... I think throne room tackle is the axe bash. It starts at 300 instead of 100. I don't know. I think it's still fast. And then we have Tiandi palm strike can now be performed starting at 366 milliseconds during the front dodge only. So, yeah. And then we have some changes to Hitokiri. Endless Myriad now gains uninterruptible stance at 100 milliseconds down from 300. So, Endless Myriad, that's the chain heavies. All his chain heavies come out instantly now, instead of, on release. They used to come out on release, now they're just going to come out instantly. They adjusted the weapon trajectories for all heavy attacks to have a better range, which is good. Mechai Rift, which is the chain light. So if you were the light with Hito, that second light, it no longer has hyper armor. They should make it so you can't get freaking guard broken on dodge, because when somebody do that, they dodge a light finisher, bro, and they get a free guard break from Hitokiri. They need to change that recovery. That's ridiculous, especially since it's not gonna have hyper armor no more. And the chain link timing to Hitokiri kicks from light attack is now 133 milliseconds later. So his kicks ain't gonna be as fast after he lights you, I don't know how that's good. I don't know how that's going to benefit Hito. He's already a beast. So then we got some more talk. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we get to the testing grounds.
Right. We're doing some Peacekeeper changes.
Oh.
Yes. Doing some Magi changes.
Oh.
About time. And we're doing Highlander round 2.
Hey. Right? So here you guys have it. Your new testing ground candidates. Peacekeeper. Now, this one caught me off guard. But yeah, she needs some love. Honestly, she does. She does. You have to work too hard to be good with Peacekeeper I'm a good peacekeeper. I'm a great peacekeeper. I'm a master peacekeeper and everything. But still, when I play her, it's stressful as hell compared to other heroes. Magi, they about to nerf him probably. And I knew Howland around 2 was coming. That first one was just kind of ridiculous. But anyways, let's.
So I'll go over it as we go. We'll start with Peacekeeper, right? Because we want to see what's going on here. So Peacekeeper right now is pretty good in duels.
Yep.
Right? Like she has like
beast in duels.
Yeah, she's a beast in duels, right? Like she has like pretty good offense. But
At
she
least
has
when I'm playing against
right,
her.
yeah, of course. Okay. But the thing is, when you're playing Dominion, when you're playing like more like team fight game modes, basically, right? Anything you have like team fights going, she struggles from external quite a bit because she relies on her bleed, and so because she relies on her bleed, and the only way to effectively apply bleed is really going to be through guard break, or maybe if you're lucky, kind of peel within to a deep gouge. We've done something a little bit different with Peacekeeper, right? So we've added a new move to her, which is a front dodge bash.
New move alert. New move alert. Get ready for some crazy animations. Let's go.
But as you'll see, it is
What the hell? Do that again.
slower, right? So right now it's 766 ms. You can do it at 100 ms to 500 in your front dodge. It doesn't chain on miss. So if I go here and I miss, well, I didn't miss, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't chain on miss. And when it lands, it guarantees a deep gouge, which bleeds your opponent.
And this is not variable timed, right?
This is not variable time, right? So it's a straight 766 right now. We did this because we didn't want her to have a bash from neutral in 1v1 situations. Her offense still quite works, right? So this works well. All that sort of stuff kind of is good. She has good ways to defend herself and to apply bleed. But like I said before, when you're outnumbered, when you're external from an opponent, they could just block external towards your way, and then Peacekeeper was like, well, I can't do anything.
Yeah,
I can't
GG.
apply bleed, right? So by having a slower bash, you can still use it. You can rely on your teammates to let you guarantee it. You can rely on a bunch of different things to make sure that it lands. We've seen it land a ton. Like if you look at Magi, for example, the front dodge bash when you're in staff mode is super slow, slower than this, lands very reliably. We want this to be the same here. There's a lot of ways to make it guaranteed, and this really opens up Peacekeeper because when you do land it, you get your deep gouge, they're bleeding, and then you go to town like you usually do. Right?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna tell you why this. I love the deep gouge. They basically, to sum it up, they made it that slow so that she wouldn't have a bash that she can just spam you with bleeds, right? And just spam and spam and spam. But it's a bash. It's gonna feed a ton of revenge in 4s, right? I don't think it helps her situation out either. Her situation is her damage for real, for real. It ain't really her moveset. They just basically, this is a way to apply bleed faster. This ain't, I don't know, man. Let me see.
You get your unblockable heavy finishers, you get all that good stuff. So that's super, super cool. Lets her open up opponents way better.
Without making it like too useful.
Exactly, right? Because also the thing is, like Peacekeeper has been like she's not really necessarily a really bash character, so we wanted to make sure that she doesn't rely on bashes in 1v1 specifically. So that's kind of like the thing. We wanted to keep the flavor of the hero quite a bit with those tabs on that sort of stuff, so that kind of works.
Put a tool in the kit there for when she
Exactly, right? It's a very, very, very targeted tool for very specific situations. The other thing to note is that this animation right now is placeholder. It is not the final animation.
Oh, thank goodness, because I was about to, bro. I can't wait to see what the final animation looks like. But do y'all hear that? That's a placeholder. So nobody go off in my comments or anything like that. It's not like y'all comment anyway, at least at the recording of this video. But yeah, I'm kidding. But like nobody get alert. That move that y'all saw, that bash, it's only a placeholder. Don't panic. We don't know what the real thing is gonna look like. But I am excited she's getting a new move. That's what I love about reworks. Adding a new move that she don't have, and watching that character do something they never done before, you know?
The animation team is super hard at work into making it look even better. So we can get feedback on this if you want, but it'll change.
I think a few people in chat have mentioned it already.
Yeah,
And
so probably.
Don't worry.
Yeah, so let me do it again here. So yeah, you get this.
It'll be different.
It'll be different. Don't worry about it, right? So
I mean, nothing's too wrong with that except for the speed of the bash. But like they say, they don't want They don't want her to be but so bash heavy reliant. That's understandable, and I'm glad. So if it's, I just hate that they said it. Hold on, is it
A
feightable?
couple of other changes to Peacekeeper
Is
as
it another change? Feightable
well.
bash?
So it's going to be a bit hard here to show it, but we've also adjusted the trajectories. They detect the weapon trajectories of her side heavies. So because of this now, like these attacks hit further out, a little bit flatter. So she's going to be able to defend herself better when she's outnumbered. Again, same thing as we had with Hitokiri, like when we talked about just earlier.
So translating this, essentially, she gets bigger hit boxes. That's what they saying.
We're having those.
And that's one of her issues with 4. So I guess it helps, but I'll take it. This is a dub. So far,
Slightly larger trajectories really helps in keeping opponents off of you.
That makes sense. She's got an arming sword.
Yeah, exactly, right? So that kind of makes sense there.
Yeah.
So that's great. Another thing that we've done, I don't know if you remember, way back when, we did a change.
The time
Peacekeeper.
before time.
The time before time, right?
Yeah.
Where we changed the input on her deflect attack. Right?
right.
It used to be on light, and we put it on heavy.
Yep.
And the reasoning was, well, you kind of had the option select, do light heavy whenever you did a dodge to make sure it would land. You would go into it, and it felt kind of like a bit odd. But then looking back at it, we've been looking back at it, we've been wanting to do this for a while, because it's an attack that bleeds. All of her attacks that bleed
Light attack.
come from her dagger.
Yep.
Her dagger is always on the light attack button.
Yep.
So we've actually reverted this, and now it's back onto the light button input. I know a certain Frozen person that's probably in chat right now that is ecstatic about this change.
Everybody's favorite Bond villain's jumping up and down right now.
So that's great. So we did that change. It's going to be awesome. It really it feels better with the character as well. It makes it's a lot more in line with what she does. So that's pretty.
That makes sense why, Raul.
Yeah.
It's one of a list of reasons why I'm trash with PK. Because I could never get the deflect thing.
Next up, we have zone attack. So zone attack, we've lowered the
Oh,
cost.
wow. So in the testing grounds, her deflex going to get swapped back to light attacks. I just want to know. I don't remember how much damage it does with the heavy attack. And I don't know if it did more damage with the heavy attack when that input did get implemented. But, you're going back to deflect lights. And it makes sense because all her other lights are bleed. So, yeah, that makes sense.
Cost of the initial hit, it used to cost 40, then 10. Now it costs 20 plus 10.
Excellent. You can utilize her zone a lot more. Thank God, man. Now she's going to be way better at clearing minions.
So again, stamina economy. You
Love
can
to
use it on
see.
attack. Yeah, it's always
Stamina in this economy?
Good. Yeah, right. How does that work? Okay, so that's there. Again, you'll be able to use your zone attack a lot more often. Really good part of her mix-up as well. The second hit is unblockable when you're bleeding. So again, adds a lot of pressure. Super cool. And then finally, with Peacekeeper, the last thing we've done is we've removed the strict input requirements on her stabs when she guard breaks and on deep gouge. So for example here, right? I'm not that good at the time these or whatever. Now I can just go mash.
Nice.
And
I could have sworn this was already in the game. Is this not in the game? Comment down below. I'll find out once I get off. Once I stop recording this. I could have sworn that they already did this. I don't think this is new. I could have sworn they said they removed the time. Oh no, that was on Shinobi. That wasn't PK. Okay.
Works, no problem.
Honestly, I'm okay. That worked.
Same for deep gouge, right? I can mash it and it's gonna come out. Before, if you mashed it, it really didn't come out. It's good because it's a lot easier to input, but at the same time, if you still want to do, stab into a throw, for example, right? You can do throwing.
Nice.
If you mash it, your third stab is going to come out. So you still have to have a bit more of the input, the clean of I'm going to do tap and doing it. But at least it makes it all more.
I'm sorry, guys. JC. Oh man, that's my bud. That's my bud right there, bro. That's my bud. He said tap and did that. All right, JC. All
so
right.
we could just mash it.
You don't have to have the timing specific, but it's not going to let you throw in 8 inputs to light and then still follow up with your kick.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So that's the important.
So you still have to get the number right.
Yeah.
You just don't have to also 50-pound brain it.
Yeah. Well, it's the same we did with Shinobi, right? Shinobi had the same type of thing when you do sickle rain, where we removed the strict input requirements for doing those tabs, But at the same time, if you want to do like stab into backflip because you get better frame advantage, for example, you still have to do it consciously and just not just smash and then try
Yeah.
to do something. Right? It happens to me all the time. So I'm well aware of how bad I am at this. That's kind of good there.
I still won't be able to do it.
Right. Oh,
Something fell.
something fell. Doesn't matter. Yeah. So that's it for Peacekeeper. So now let's go look at.
Okay, so PK overall, the additional changes, they look like the main goal with PK's testing grounds is bleeds, easier bleeds, bigger hit boxes, and deflecting into light, and not getting that confusion where you deflect with heavy using a dagger. Since all your light attacks are a dagger, they kind of want to keep it that way, keep it simple. Does this help PK? How strong can this make? Does this make PK any stronger? I'm gonna say no, it doesn't, cause her damage is the biggest issue. PK's damage is the biggest issue in the game. I'm glad they made her hitboxes big in fours. I'm glad they reduced the stamina on her zones. That'll kind of help her sort of in fours, but not enough to like want to pick up and play her. Yeah, it just makes it slightly less stressful. But the bleeds, I never play PK. I'll play PK in Breach or Tribute. Not that anybody plays Tribute. I play Tribute, you know. But in modes like such as, you know, in modes that are not Dominion, that's where the forest modes that are not Dominion, that's where PK thrives. So Breach and Tribute, and I ain't gonna say elimination because you get feats, but basically Breach and Tribute are where PK thrives, specifically because in those games, in Breach, there's only a single health point, right? There's only a single health point, right? In Breach, there's only a single... Why did I just repeat myself? There's only a single health point in Breach, which means if somebody is bleeding and they don't have any form of heal feats, they ain't got Bounty Hunter, they ain't got Second Wind, they ain't, you know, or you're not fighting a Griffin with his healing feats, then it's, then you know she can thrive pretty well, because like they said, the rework is centered around PK's bleeds, and that don't help her situation anymore. It's not helping her situation at all. Her situation is her damage and her hitboxes. They're gonna make the hitboxes bigger, but what about her damage? And like I say, bleed is completely unreliable in modes such as Dominion, because if you're fighting, we all have those fights where the opponent like to approach us just outside of their zone, so that, you know, if they take too much damage, they can back up and heal. Imagine applying all this bleed as PK. They step back in the zone, and all that poison damage is completely negated. They can just instantly heal from it and step back out. You bleed them again, they instant heal from it. They step back out. So how does, you know, revolving around bleed gonna help her situation out in Dominion, where you can just get instant heals just like that? You know, at least in Breach, you gotta go to a certain designation, or you gotta have certain feats. If you fighting a Griffin, and Griffin with all his feats, bleed is just completely unreliable, right? Bleed is completely unreliable with Griffin. All his feats just heal him and nearby foes, completely cancels out bleed, fire damage, and all that stuff, right? So you got people like Griffin who completely counters PK, you know, except in duels. That's why she's so good at duels, because there are no feats. I don't think there's perks. Yeah, there are no feats. There are no perks that just sort of denies her bleeding skill. So if this is going to be a character revolving around bleeds, it needs to be something else, possibly something else, you know. And I don't think it helps PK's situation at all. Honestly and totally honest, it doesn't help her situation at all, because, you know, it's way easier to heal from bleed damage these days, especially in Dominion. So that makes bleed as a weapon completely unreliable. The reason Shaman can use it is because she can get a 35 damage bite out of it. You get what I'm saying? The reason why Shinobi, when he uses it, nothing really special happens. It's just bleed. He's not a bleed character anymore. They changed that out of Shinobi for a reason, and Shinobi's doing a lot better. So I was kind of hoping they do the same with PK, like give her a kind of a new a new angle to be looked at besides bleed, because bleed is not working anymore. It's unreliable. It's unreliable. That's why they took out thick skin, which completely negated bleed damage as a feat, and replaced it with something else. You know, PK kind of gets negated by these attributes. So far, her testing grounds, it's kind of weak. The only thing good out of her testing grounds is her ability to clear the minion zones with her zone attacks. That's about it.
Medjai.
So PK so far in testing grounds, that's an L.
Right, so Medjai
That's an L.
is a super cool hero. A lot of people love him.
Yeah.
There's been
Wide boy.
Yeah, right, the white boy. There's something that I think
Very
a
broad.
lot of people have been requesting for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you remember, like, when we launched, even people were like, oh, I wish I could switch modes constantly in the middle of a fight because I don't like having to do back and guard break to switch and I'm kind of stuck and I can't do anything.
Thank you. Now you know how it feels. No offense, JC. I love you.
Yeah, huge point of feedback. I want to be able to just
Exactly, right?
between
Well, guess
modes.
what? We did it. So now, Medjai has a new move that is accessible from
New move alert. New move alert. We're about to see some crazy animations. Let's get it.
either staff mode or axe mode, which is performed with zone attack. So after any attack that Medjai does, if you do zone attack, you switch
Ooh, yeah, that's what we wanted, baby. Thank you.
modes.
Although, this don't look like no nerf. I thought this was going to be a nerf because Medjai kind of OP with these big-ass hitboxes in fours. Like, but they're like 1v1 wise, finally, you get to utilize both stances, kind of, sort of. Like, I can actually use staff stance. That's crazy.
And you go into this, right?
Nice.
It counts as a heavy. So if I go into a heavy afterwards, like if I go into like back into staff mode, I go heavy, go into a heavy, I go into my heavy finisher. If I go like, go into light, I go into my chain lights, right? So
Nice.
it really counts as a heavy. So your next heavy that you perform, like if you do another heavy right after that zone attack, it's gonna be the one with the special properties.
Okay.
So in staff is gonna be like with the uninter.
Smooth animation, bro. Shout out, fingers, snapping fingers to the mocap team. Good animation, thank God.
If you're an axe, it's going to be the unblockable one. That's kind of like the idea here. We really wanted to make sure that you had that flow. And also what's kind of cool is you can go in zone into zone into zone. Constantly
Oh, yeah, baby. He got his own infinite, baby. Thank God.
as much as you want.
And it can, any one of these
Rafflecopter.
Any one of these can go into that unblockable finisher. So you never. Oh man, I wonder what they do about his tracking and dual axe stance. Because when he does a side heavy and dual axe stance, it don't track enough.
Goes
Right?
swoosh,
You-
swoosh, swoosh,
You can go
swoosh.
kind of nuts, but that's kind of interesting, right? So you can it really adds a lot to this flow and really go into, you can go ham and what
Yeah, that's an infinite, baby. They gave him another infinite.
you want to do, but
Infinites are always good for mix-ups, baby.
it's also super cool, right? You're able to
Nice. Medjay Main's eaten today.
On top of this, we've also removed the armor, the uninterruptible stance on staff mode, light chained.
Oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. That's one of the reasons why he OP'd now. Because not only does that last light attack have a large hitbox, it also has hyper armor. So, yeah, he can be interrupted now out of it. That's something. That's some form of a nerf. I'll take it.
Chain lights and light finishers. Mostly because we want to make sure that Medjai has, when you're in staff mode, like it's super strong, right? You have like those big trajectories, and you had that uninterruptible stance constantly. And so it made the hero super difficult to peel when like, and Medjai didn't really have to think. You just did like light, heavy, light, heavy, light,
Yeah.
heavy. You didn't really
Yeah, bro. He's dumbfounded, bro.
care. But now, because of this, you need to be smarter into how you play and be more aware of what's going on around you because you will be peeled if you use your light attacks.
Thank you. Thank you. More self-awareness.
Like most players are going to be able to be good enough to hit you right in those in between those little timings, so that you have to be a lot more conscious as to what you're going to be doing. So it's a bit of a nerf here, but it's I think a well-deserved nerf.
Yeah.
Like staff mode has been like overperforming for a while, so that was kind of necessary. And last but not least, the light finisher in axe mode is now undodgeable.
Yeah, get the hell out of here. Get the hell out. Everything was going so good until you... They're already fast as hell. What they need to be undodgeable for, JC? Come on, man. But this only testing grounds. This only testing ground. Relax, people. I'm not actually angry. This is just testing grounds. It's not gonna be in the game. I don't think that's gonna slide. Unless they make the light attacks a lot slower.
right? So you can
Like
see
they already fast as hell. What they need to be undodgeable for though, JC? Come on, let me explain to me. Preach to me, man.
little blue spark here. So the idea here is that when you do a bash into a light, right? So that's cool. That kind of works as usual.
Yeah.
But then you had a situation where your opponent could just mash dodge, get out of your light and your heavy, right? You chain heavy
Yeah.
or your light finisher.
Yeah.
And
it
so
was,
we had
really annoying. For
right.
a
It's
lot of
super
people.
annoying, right?
Yeah.
Because then the offense that the hero has was not as strong as it should have been. And so we had to choose between putting undodgeable on the light finisher or on the chain heavy. And we decided to put it on the light finisher because we really wanted to keep that identity of the hero of when you're in axe mode, when you do heavies, the only property you really get is unblockable at the end. And it became like super rainbow, like, like Christmas tree-ish, even though it's kind of the season. But like you would get blue into orange and getting all those kind of crazy things. So instead we put it on light finishers. It also emphasizes the fact that as a Magi, if you do this, right, again, light, we're back to neutral. I'm frame disadvantage. I still have to reopen up my opponents. I still have to get into it. But I did get damage. I did beat their bash. I did their dodge. I did beat their dodge with a very, very good option as well.
Yeah.
It's hard to, it's not super easy for everybody to react to, even though they're 500 MS lights. You still have to kind of know what you're
Okay,
doing.
so I don't know. I think they just made him even more busted. I'm gonna be totally honest, bro. I'm not seeing anything about reduced hit boxes. They're giving this man undodgeables in his dual axe stance. It should. Damn, man. That is not gonna be fun to fight against.
The heavy still work. Heavy feint to guard break, heavy feint to parry still works. All that sort of stuff works. But I really want to make sure that you had that option now. So you have more guaranteed damage. You're scared. Your opponent's going to be scared of dodging. And if they're scared of dodging, it means your heavies are probably going to land more if they're blocked. Then if they're blocked, you get access to your finisher. All those kind of things that kind of like fall into place a lot better for the
Why
hero.
are you making him stronger? He needs a nerf. What do y'all? Yeah, he needs a nerf. I'm pretty sure they're going to hear that by the end of this stream. Magi needs a nerf. What are you making him? Why are you giving him? Okay. Yeah, I strongly doubt this is going to actually make it to the game. The undodgeable lights, that is. Everything else, okie dokie.
Idea here for Magi.
Kind of the TLDR should feel a lot better to play,
Yeah.
a lot more fluid, but a little easier to crack.
Exactly.
And,
right.
and solve some of those like pain points of
Yeah.
like, fighting against Magi.
Exactly, right? So that's the big thing here. And I love that, like, now you can go this, that into an unblockable, and get, like, that super cool flow. It's amazing. So can't wait for players to try that out. It's going to be really cool. All right, so that's it for Magi. And then let's go.
They kind of just made him stronger. They only took away hyper armor on his last light attacks. Other than that, this dude still has hyper armor. He still has these big-ass hit boxes. Nothing was nerfed about Magi, really. I'm liking the new animation and his better flow in the new Infinite. It's a big W for... It's not a W. It's a W for Magi, but it's a big L for the community because they were hoping to see nerfs. Now, once again, this is only testing rounds. There's a high possibility Magi is going to get nerfed before this goes through. High possibility. His hitboxes, his hyper armor, it's like which one you going to give him? Big hitboxes or you going to leave him with the hyper armor, all right?
To Highlander. So,
They just gave him an infinite where he can flow in and out, and his hitboxes, when he's target swapping, his hitboxes, oh my God. They just buffed an already super strong. They just buffed the most OP character in 4s again. But like I said, I don't think that's going to make it to the live. I'm going to just tell you that, be honest. Magi already hits everybody, bro. He really don't.
Highlander testing grounds in the past.
Highlander round 2, by the way.
And
So the Magi win. The Magi, it's complicated. But I'm going to get a Magi a L because he isn't nerfed enough. He's not nerfed enough. The hyper armor is only removed on that last light attack that he does. Other than that, this dude still has these big ass hitboxes that you just target swap. He still got hyper armor on his chain lights, just not that last chain light attack, And it's the hitboxes with Magi. This dude hits everybody. He hits everything in sight. I remember fighting a defensive Magi in Carousel or Horkos. Oh my God, it was the most infuriating thing ever. The Magi completely ignored me because he knew I was good, right? Magi completely ignored me, locked onto my teammates, and kept trying to build revenge, essentially, in the carousel. And it was really fucking annoying because he kept keeping me at bay with those big ass fucking hitboxes. Like, even when I deflected, hyper armor, like, you know, and that was, I couldn't parry. I'm not Black Prior, so I can't flip him. So it was irritating. He ain't nerfed enough. Though I like that flowing back in and out of the stances easier, though. So that's my take on Magi's rework. Now, Highlander.
It was, if you see with Highlander, keep the same as it was in the first testing round.
So if we don't mention it today, it means we didn't touch it.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So first off, we have offensive form. So when you're in offensive form, we had side dodge keyboard toss, right? That we were like, yeah, it's kind of cool.
The first rework they're talking about, by the way, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, it kind of feels good, but at the same time, it was kind of problematic because it unbalances. Because it had too many issues, right? You would unbalance somebody, so you got your guaranteed heavy afterwards, which is, you know, what kind of handler was kind of about on live right now. But at the same time, because it unbalances people, you had allies that can go and just go, somebody's on the ground, let's, you know, hit them for all we've got constantly. If you had a Yorm or Centurion nearby, it's like, well, guess what? You're dead.
Yeah, you're gonna get jumped
off of a defensive maneuver, which is not something that we really wanted to have. So instead what we've done is we've added a new side dodge attack, which is on heavy. So if you side dodge and you release heavy, you go into a dodge attack. Right now we put animation of the defensive form side dodge attack. This is also placeholder.
Yep.
It's getting reworked. It's similar-ish because we still want to have like trajectories and stuff, and we still
So this side dodge attack is gonna be a new animation. New move inbound, everybody.
To hit people externally, but at the same time, like it's a lot safer. It lets us balance the damage of it as well quite well, because it's on a heavy, it can execute, so that's kind of good. But it doesn't need to deal like upwards, like close to 30 damage, just because you managed to do a side dodge and got into something. So that's like one of the big changes we've done here.
And for the animation hawks in chat, just to make sure everyone heard it, placeholder animation.
Yeah, placeholder, right? This is the exact same animation as we have on defensive form, rather. Sorry. But it is getting changed. So that's that's good. I saw like a prototype of this one.
Yeah, nice.
It also kind of fast falls back into offensive stance as much as you want. You can go into, like, if you don't do anything, you go into defensive. So it's all the usual stuff that we have, but really to have that aspect of a side dodge attack here, as iframes, all the good stuff, so you're able to like defend yourself properly.
Nice.
With this, we still kept keyboard toss on front dodge, right? But we have removed the change we had done. We reverted it.
We got a lot of feedback.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on this.
It was stupid fast, bro. So I like this one way better. It just feels more natural.
This where like we sped it up, right? We had sped it up because it was landing much more often, and so getting stuck in that animation.
Okay, y'all watch this. I gotta take a call.
Constantly didn't feel super good, so we've reverted it. So now it's back to the timing we had before, right? So you grab him, Handler lovingly looks into your eyes before he chucks it down. So, but that's one of the feedback we've got. Like I remember seeing that feedback a ton from people.
Yeah, we saw feedback on both sides. Both like it doesn't feel good to be in this all the time, and also from Highlander mains saying, like I miss that moment of like gotcha.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You know.
So we reverted that specifically to make sure that we were good for this. Another change that we've done is that top light in offensive stance is 400 ms. It used to be 5, so now it's 4. So you have that 400 ms into every single stance now. That's great. It's, you know, very, very good unreactable offense. It's enhanced, right? So you're like, well,
I love the pommel bonk every time. It doesn't matter, right? Any hero, any game, the thunk.
Yeah. That's great. Next up, we have zone attack. So it's kind of hard to show right now, but we've adjusted the weapon trajectories on his zone attack as well, so that you were able to hit minions and opponents more reliably externally.
All right, I'm back. So I saw it speeding up the light attacks to 500. From 500 to what, 300? I think they said 400. Let's go back.
That specifically to make sure that we were good for this. Another change that we've done is that top light in offensive stance is 400 ms. It
Bonk.
used to be 5, so now
Bonk.
it's 4. So you have that 400 ms into every single stance now. That's great. It's,
So only the top, like. Yeah. Highlanders are gonna abuse the shit out of this, bro. But honestly, I'm. That's why I'm so glad. I'm good at parrying this. Like Highlanders, y'all, any Highlanders watching this, don't come at me with that light spam in the offensive stance. You gonna get your ass parried. All right. I am not the one that you want to fucking spam that shit on. If you can go back into all my mega montages and see I parry that shit every fucking time. So yeah, you probably might get the first hit, the first 2 hits, but anything after that, bro, nah.
very, very good unreactable offense. It's enhanced, right? So
I'm not a reaction-based fighter. I'm a read-based fighter. So thank God for that.
you're like, well,
I love the pommel bonk every
Yeah.
time.
It's
It
super
doesn't
cool,
matter.
right?
Any
Yeah.
hero, any game. The thunk.
yeah. That's great. Next up, we have zone attack. So it's kind of hard to show right now, but we've adjusted the weapon trajectories on his zone attack as well, so that you were able to hit minions and opponents more reliably externally. There was some issues with it that we actually managed to resolve, so it should be a lot more reliable at hitting people outside. I know I had a lot of players send me videos of I'm doing zone attacks and then the sword
Yeah, and it's just
space
swooshing through.
like minions and stuff. So that should be all fixed right now. And then the last change that we've done might be a little bit hard to show, but basically, we want Highlander to be able to enter offensive form a little bit easier, right? And have less risk to do it. So we still have the I throw a heavy, I feint into offensive stance. That's great, but then from neutral, if you hold heavy, you go into it, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
And so at higher levels, at most levels actually, if you see a Highlander doing this, you could just light them out of it.
Yeah.
Every single time you see him enter, you light it, right? That's why those backstep lights were necessary, because you had to backstep into offensive stance.
Yeah.
So you would be safer.
Otherwise,
So-
every Nobu on the planet's going to boop.
Exactly. So what we've done is something a little bit tricky, where you can now cancel the entry of offensive form from neutral 266 ms earlier. You can do it into a dodge. So normally if you look at the time it takes for me to like go heavy and then before I'm in, or I can do whole and then dodge a little bit earlier. And so from our testing internally, from what we've been looking at, it means that your opponents can no longer just randomly throw a light when they see you enter it, because you can go dodge into it's like a dodge into a side dodge attack, for example, and you're gonna beat their light, their recovery.
So as you're going in the offensive stance, your opponent trying to light you out of it. It's risky because you got the dodge attack. But, like I said, if you find a Rochi or anybody with dodge cancels, they can counter your dodge attack. So what do you have to say about that, Ubisoft? Don't really seem like a favorable solution.
So it should make entering offensive form from neutral also safer here, right? It's still a read. If you don't want to dodge, then your opponents have to do something else, but they can still guard break you. But if they try to guard break you, you can just go into this and they're kind of screwed. So you still have options in these situations, but it lets you go into it a little bit safer even when you're closer, so your opponents can't just light you out of it constantly.
Well, it still maintains that like highly technical.
Yeah, of course, right?
Highlander.
Yeah, because if I want to go into like this, right, I have to go dodge, do it. So it's tricky, like the holding, not holding, mashing, dodge, get into it. So we still want to have that feeling of the inputs are tricky on Highlander. You have to use like your giant brain to be able to like and there's a lot of muscle memory involved in it, right? So that you go, I have to hold, not hold, and like get into those moments. But it again, it's one of those things that we're comfortable giving Highlander slightly more complicated inputs, because you have those higher reward situations, and we really want to make sure that Highlander had those options to get into offensive form and really be able to go from defensive to offensive to defensive to offensive. Kind of like what we have with Medjay, right? Where you have those two modes, except going into them with Highlander is a lot more complex because you have to hold, you have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like Highlander mains are kind of like a unique breed, because they're like, we want some love for our hero, but don't you dare dumb it down.
Yeah, right.
And so they love the pain.
Yeah,
They're like, no, I want to have to like.
Shout out to Mulicious and Basta Habibi, some of the best Highlander mains in the game, as well as Wave Vision, the top Highlander player on PlayStation. Shout out to them.
Oh, get it all in there. And so this should satisfy that.
Definitely. So that's what we have for Highlander. Again, as usual, like I'm gonna be
Fiend or Ondar too. I know about Fiend. It's a lot of Highlander bands. Shout out to all y'all.
scouring, the usual places when the reworks go
Yeah,
live.
be there with you.
We'll have a lot of people to talk to. It's gonna be super interesting, and we'll figure out where we go from there. But hopefully, this will help fix the major issues a lot of players have with Highlander. Get into it a little bit better, and again, so we can be able to release this rework to the general. Have a lot of super good fun. So again,
Yeah.
leave feedback.
Yes,
if you love
please,
it,
wherever.
leave it. If you don't like it, tell me.
Because we read
okay.
all the things.
Yeah, we
If
do,
I,
we do.
I'm gonna jump on a soapbox real quick. But yeah, we see a
So yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for the testing grounds. Next is about tournaments, to wrap up. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it for the Warriors Den of the new season. So thank y'all for stopping by. I hope all y'all had a good. I hope this is a dub. So PK, nothing really happened. You can't really center her around bleeds because they're easy to negate in Dominion unless you just stop making the zones auto heal you, which would kind of change the game pretty big. Other than that, PK, not really nothing happening. I do like that she's about to get a new move, a new bash. I like that. Magi, I like his new zone infinite, but without reducing the hitboxes on Magi or lowering his damage as well, you're just going to be getting more complaints, Ubisoft. Highlander, I like Highlander. I'm going to give Highlander a dub because it's simple. They're not trying to do as much as they did with him before. Like, I remember that the super fast kicks and all that stuff, that was just too complicated, right? Nobody really liked that. It was abomination. So, yeah, overall testing grounds, okay. It's not live yet, but I don't expect most of those changes to make it to the game besides Highlander, being totally honest. Like undodgeable finishes for Magi, those finisher light attacks are already fast as hell. You get what I'm saying? They already fast as hell. So, it's kind of like dealing with Kyoshin, man. I don't know, man. You really don't need them, especially with Kyoshin, since Kyoshin already has undodgeable heavy attacks. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for the little outro stream. Hold on, I'm gonna play it for a little bit.
You read all the
He
things.
reads it all, apparently.
I do. When I say we, I mean me and JC.
Just
And I read Reddit on. That's. I hope we will.
I'm sorry, guys. I had to let that play out because I'm going to screenshot it when I'm going back into the editing. But other than that, thank y'all for stopping by. Once again, this is part 3 to a 3-part Warriors Den reaction. Haven't seen the last 2 parts. Go check them out. They should be on the channel before this part. And thank y'all for stopping by. I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.